Greetings everyone and welcome in today's PECB webinar. My name is Gezim Zeneli and I am the Portfolio Marketing Manager for IT Security at PECB. Today we will discuss about the webinar topic, role of CISO, challenges of yesterday, today and tomorrow. The webinar will be presented by Mr. Roberth Chavez. Mr. Chavez has been involved with Deloitte for the last 10 years, working in the cyber risk area since his beginnings. He is the cyber risk leader for Ecuador and has participated in several information security projects in Ecuador, being responsible for more than 60% of ISO 27001 certification locally. Roberth is also a freelance facilitator for IAI, ISACA and PECB in Ecuador. I wish you enjoy this webinar and hope you will find relevant facts and information. If you have any questions, you can write them at any time in a question box in the right-hand control panel, or use the raise hand function to talk direct to Mr. Chavez. Please, Mr. Chavez, you may proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Gezim. Hi, everyone. Just let me, okay, I have the control. Well, as already Gezim said, I'm Roberth Chavez. I've been working for Deloitte the last 10 years, involved with the cyber risk area, an area that we all know has gained a lot of importance in the last year. This area covers all services related with information security, which is one of the topics that we are going to discuss today. This is today's agenda. We're talking about the CISO role today and the challenges. In the challenges area, we are going to cover some of the main challenges and also the ways how to overcome them in a strategic way. So, which is the CISO's role today? Well, the CISO's role has evolved and has changed over the years, but nowadays the CISO has the responsibility to provide the leadership and guidance necessary for an organization to manage information risks related to confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information organization. This is very important since the CISO has the responsibility to inform, to assess all the organizations about all the risks that the information could suffer from exposure to any kind of risks. However, this role has evolved from over the years in this way. At the beginning, the CISO was center or focus in technology, implementing all kind of tools to prevent the materialization of some information security risks. However, with the time, organizations realized that not all the tools were giving back all the value or the return on investment that they needed to be. So this was very critical for the CISO, since they begin to lose some credibility about the work they were doing. Nowadays, this role has evolved in something which is more business process centric, risk focused, and nowadays inclusive. It has evolved into a consultative professional in which the CISO is an advisor for all the business units, so they can ask, they can get advice from him regarding every kind of projects. This doesn't mean that the CISO is going to be an authority in all the companies, in all the projects, but he has to be consulted in order to know if there are some information security risk related to those projects that are going to initiate. This is very important, but to gain this importance and to gain this recognition in the organization, it's very important that the CISO start to know all the organization, starts to speak the organization's the organization's dialect, know how the process works in their organization. Sometimes this is very difficult because, at least from my experience, some CISOs come from or have an IT background. And you know that that's not all what the companies do. Usually you have to go to the field, know the business, and start understanding what are the concerns and what are the main preoccupations from the companies regarding operations. So you have to start, or the CISO have to start, understanding these concerns of the business and trying to relate them to the information security risks that he or that the CISO is proposing to manage in the company. This is the only way that they could achieve strategic alignment with the organization and demonstrate that the CISO management could give something back to the organization. This is what we call as return of security of information security investment, and it's key and it's very important, because otherwise you will start to lose a strategic or executive support once you are doing your job as CISO in the organization. Let's go to the next slide, in which we are going to see some of the challenges that the CISO has to face in the organization. These challenges have been around all times. We're going to see if these challenges are something from yesterday, today, or tomorrow. I'll try to put that from my perspective and my experience. Also, I have included some ways to overcome them. I guess this is a very important opportunity to share ideas with all the participants in order to know if they have faced similar challenges in their projects, being this from a consulting perspective or from an organization perspective. Okay, so let's see. The first challenge is lack of resources and effective team structure. These challenges have been around from all times, but it's not really that the organization has not managed to find the right resources. This has to do with the threats that are raised every day, the dynamic change of the threat landscape. So this will be a challenge for the CISO for all times. One of the ways to overcome this is identify or keep informed. I will start from the bottom, because I guess this is very important in going to that. Keep informed about new threats and risks from approved source. It's very important that you have an internal or external source, approved source for threat intelligence, in order to keep up with the changes in the threat landscape. This way, you will be able to identify your team's strengths and improve them with the time. So you can always have an effective team that is ready to respond information security incidents. It's also very important to determine what motivates your team and assign them that role. In the case you have a very large team, see, yes, and at the end you have to invest a little, prepare your team in a progressive manner in all the new threats and all the new things that they have to manage in order to be a first step or a first line of response for information security breaches. The second challenge is weak relationships with business units within the organization. I think this is a consequence from what was the role of the CISO in the past. Nowadays, the CISO, as I mentioned before, the CISO role has become more of a consulting professional in the organization. And in order to do this, the CISO has to understand that they cannot keep speaking in a technical way. They have to change, or they have to change their role towards a more consultative advisor figure. And to achieve this, it's very important to get to know the organization. It's usually I said this is as basic as reading. You have to go and analyze, pick up, identify the DNA of your organization, identify the key processes, identify the main concerns, and try to focus your work, your job as CISO, in order to overcome, to help the business, the organization, to overcome these problems with what you manage as CISO. And obviously this will guide you to speak their dialect, speak the top executive language, so you can get the appropriate approval for all the projects that will help the organization to overcome these issue concerns. Another thing, another challenge which is very, has been again all the time, it's the ineffective communication or reporting scheme among stakeholders and through all the organization. I don't know, we have a saying here in Ecuador which says when a hen lays an egg, everybody knows, because it makes a lot of noise. So it's very important that when a CISO achieves a milestone, they have to inform everyone which is involved in this milestone. Now, having said that, it's very important that before you inform everyone, you have to know your audience and then prepare the message, because it's very important that everyone gets the same message, but not everyone is the same in the company. You have to prepare a very concise message to the top executives, more open message, more detailed message to the middle management, and then to the staff. You have to give all the instructions, probably all the procedures, all the details about the procedures that now they have to follow, because something has changed in the information security management and is affecting those people. Another thing that it's also very important, you won't have to create a mini communications department in order to communicate about these changes. Use the existing channels. Do not reinvent the wheel. This will make that each department keep their jobs, let's call it that way, and you will gain their support, because you are giving that importance for your work as well. Okay. Another challenge is lack of support and trust from executive leadership and stakeholders. Usually this is, again, this is a consequence of the previous role of the CISO, in which they were basically implementing tools without knowing if they were going to help the business in any strategic way. Yesterday I was in a information security course, and I was telling them that when you have an effective risk management process, therefore this result in some controls to be implemented. A way to prove that this is effective is going back from the controls to the strategic elements of the organization. Since in order to prepare all the evaluation, risk evaluation approach in a company, you will have to start looking into these strategic elements. This has to do with the risk focus approach that the CISO has to apply for doing their job. To gain or to overcome this challenge related with the lack of support, you have to use a business-centric and risk-focused approach. Usually, when I try to explain this to the business, I use something with I don't know if it's the same in English, the name, but it's Pareto, in which you have the 80-20. And I said here, you have to identify the 20% of information that moves the 80% of the business. The other 80% of information, yes, I'm not saying that we are not going to do anything with that. We're going to do something, but it won't have the same effect, or it won't have the same level of protection that we will give to this 20% of information. So that is very important. With this, I will demonstrate the business that I'm working towards the organization's mission, vision, strategic plans. Justifying information security investment from a business point of view is very important. Not to go to the executive level to try to justify or to explain that we need a new, let's say, firewall because this is the state of the art and we need that because everybody is using it. No, we have to go and explain and try to give a business point of view that this will help the business to address or to comply with the strategic objectives. Keep communication to adjust measure. It's important and it's related to the previous slide in the point in which you have to get to know to your audience. And once you know your audience, you have to prepare the message. If you go to the executive level with too much information, with a lot of details, they will lose interest. So you will have to go, or you have to go with the top executive, with a very concise and precise message, informing them about your work and the results of your management. Other challenge is inadequate governance, including overall strategy and processes. To overcome this, it's very important before doing the 2 bullets here. Educate people, educate everyone in the business about information security. Nowadays, at least I speak for Ecuador, a lot of people in the business, in the organization, think that information security still have to do with only IT. They are missing the concept that includes also processes and people. So you have to educate, and this is not an easy job, and this is not a discrete job. You have to do it in a very in an interactive way. You have to do it once and again. It's not something that you will have to do it at the beginning of the year and then you will have to wait another year. Usually I have a friend who is a CISO in a company, and he says that every week he's giving inductions to new employees, or every month he's running his sensibilization program, because there are some information security breaches related to people's education. So this is the first thing that I recommend doing, and then keep everybody who needs to be involved in the game. And usually this is very important. I'll have in the past I have had very good results trying to estimate the involvement approach or the involvement ratio of the different areas in order to give them an idea of how they will be called to participate, for example, in evaluation risk processes, in education sessions, in any other thing related with information security. Then define the necessary plan, to plan, execute, check, and improve your information security processes. I think this is very important. Sometimes we forget the concept of the ISMS, which is a subset of processes, policies, and procedures that help to manage information security in a systematic and documented approach. But this is the key. It's a systematic. It's something that it's executing all the time. Sometimes we forgot that and think that only the execution of the controls is all the necessary to complete the information security management, but we forgot that we have improvement procedures, we have information security incidents procedure, we have internal audit procedures, all of them which have to be running from time to time in order to improve all the overall information security processes and controls. And finally, one challenge that I think it's a consequence of all the others is the insufficient funding. Again, at the beginning of the years, the CISO started using this technology-centric approach in which they will implementing, let's call it tools, but they weren't clear about how they will benefit the business from a business point of view. So again, to gain this or to overcome this challenge, it's important to demonstrate the business that we are using a business-centric and risk-focused approach to justify all the information security investments. Again, identifying that percentage of information that moves the majority of the business, okay? Focusing in which is really important. And then determine weak spots in the organization. And first we need to start investing from or leveraging from existing infrastructure. What I want to say with this is that you don't have to go and to ask for money. First, we have to see what we can do with what we already have purchased, available, and with technology, people, and other processes. And then, if we cannot complete the project, we go and ask for investment to the top executive. Finally, I would like to talk about all these challenges have made that the CISO, it's not only, it doesn't have one kind of approach to manage information security. This will raise several phases that the CISO has to have nowadays in order to demonstrate the value of their management to the organization. This is taken from a Deloitte study in which the Deloitte labs identified what are the CISO phases nowadays. And they make a very interesting study because they ask some companies about what they think about the phases nowadays and what is the desired level of these phases for the future. So let's go. The first phase is the strategic phase, in which the CISO has to drive the business and information security risk strategy alignment, innovate, instigate the transformation of the organization in order to be a risk-focused organization. The other phase is the advisor phase, in which the CISO has to integrate with the business in order to educate, advise, and influence activities that has to do with information security. The other phase is the guardian. Yesterday I used the term guardian dog, but this phase has to do with the protection of the business assets by understanding the threat landscape and managing the effectiveness of the information security risk program. Basically, has to be monitoring what are new or what are changing threats that could have an effect or could affect the company in a negative way. And finally is the technologies phase, in which they assess and implement security technologies and standards in order to build organization capabilities. This was the role from which the nowadays CISO evolved from the past. So let's go and see which are the perceptions of the organization regarding these 4 phases. Nowadays, the organization said that this is how these 4 phases are distributed into the CISO's profile. If you see, nowadays the CISO has still a very technologist profile in which they are implementing a lot of tools, but they have a very low strategist phase, and they have a very large guardian phase. And if you realize in this first graphic, they have a very small advisor phase, which is the desired phase from this for the CISO and for the future is this one here, in which the organizations want that the CISO has a more strategic phase, a more advisor phase, and reduce the guardian phase, and obviously reducing a lot the technology phase. Why? Because the technology phase will come as a consequence of the advisor and the strategist phase. The organizations want that the CISOs focus more on business processes, risk-focused business issues, advise the organization in how to overcome them. And finally, this will have an impact on which technology needs to be implemented. So the CISO won't have to have a very large phase in this area, and also in the guardian area. So this is what I have prepared for the presentation. I don't know if anybody has a message or a question.
Thank you, Robert, for your presentation. We want to inform you that PCB provides training and certification services for ISO 27001 lead implementer and lead auditor, ISO 27032 cybersecurity lead manager, and lead penetration testing, and many other training and certification. This training provides you with guidelines on how to ensure security in your organization, application, and the process connected to them. A PCB certificate will demonstrate your dedication in implementing and managing these processes and frameworks, and most importantly, you will be recognized worldwide. To have more information on this, you can visit our website pcb.com on the training section. Now we will go ahead with some of the questions that we have received. So the first question is, based on your experience, can you tell us about some of the resources that the CISO need to have in order to succeed on his/her role?
One of the things definitely will be a team, effective team to help them, because if you see, one of the things that the organizations want from the CISO is that this role is more focused on strategic issues, strategic and tactical issues. So who is in charge of the operations? So it's very important that the CISO has a very good team in order to help them to operate all the information security controls and to monitor all the information security controls. I think this is one of the first resources. The other one will be executive support. This is very important. Otherwise, it won't go anywhere. And finally, try to get education from time to time in order to keep up with new threats and new technologies, knowledge about, especially knowledge about the technology that it's used in your company, that is going to be used for your company, so you can proactively determine if there are any risks related with that new technology that your company is going to use to migrate.
Okay, the second question is, does CISO need to notify the executive body for all the challenges that might face before taking an action, or should they just notify for the results achieved?
Well, I guess that depends on the culture of your organization leadership. Some executive want to be notified of the problem and the solution, other just on the solution. I will guess this has to do with the culture, and it's very important that the CISO has to get to know the executive level because it's a style of leadership. So if your C-level wants to know everything, you have to inform everything, including the problems and the results, and how the CISO resolve them. If your leadership, if your C-level is only interested in how you are producing results, again, you will have only to inform that. But always thinking that you will have to do it like a baby aspirin, I call it. Very, very concise and precise. C-level, the top executive won't give you much time to inform the results of the information security management.
Thank you, Robert, once again for sharing this highly informative presentation, and also want to thank all the attendees for joining us live today. For your information, we will start the new webinar series on January 2017, and we will take care to inform you for all the upcomings. You can follow us on our website, pcb.com, and also on our social networks. Until next webinar, we wish you have a nice time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye.